Okay, hi. We are going to create a function that will build a bar graph. And we're going to do this by first creating an object called stacked data, which is going to look at the grade by major stacked by subject. And we can do this with a pivot table again. We're going to use the sum function this time. So that will be hard coded into the program. And we're also going to use the fill NA method to make sure any missing values are stored as 0. So that's another way we can do that. All right, so stacked data. Let's create the pivot table with PD pivot table, and let's organize this vertically so it's easier to read. We're going to use the grades df, so that's one of our inputs. That's a function parameter. When we use this, we can use any data input that is a data frame with the right variables that we're going to reference within this function. So the data frame is grades df. The values will be grade, all in quotes. We have index as major. And columns equals subject. And again, this time we hard code the aggregating function. So it's a little bit of a funny analysis here. We are totaling up the scores, right? We're adding up the grades with this function. And another thing I want to add to this is the fill NA. So fill missing values with zeros. Those can be problematic. That can be problematic if we try to do some additional analysis with the output. And we always want to be thinking about versatility with these functions that we build, so we can use them over and over again without errors. Okay, so next we want to create the bar plot, and we can do this with the plot method, which is part of pandas. Okay, so we're going to do stacked data that we just created, because that is when we create a pivot table from a data frame, we are creating another data frame. It's just sort of reorganized. Okay, so we can do the plot, and then we can decide what kind of plot we want with the kind argument, and we'll choose bar here. And we're going to do stacked equals true, Boolean true, not a string. The alternative to that would be to have side-by-side bars. And for this version, we're going to do stacked, so the values will be organized one on top of the other. And then I'm going to include a figure size here, so this will render in a slightly smaller view than the default. So for this one, I'm going to use figure size we'll do 8x5. So one of my goals with these exercises is to show you a lot of the different arguments that are available with these methods that we're using from different libraries. Okay, so the plot method has a lot of different customizations that we can use. And one of those is going to be the color map. So this is an input to our function. This is a parameter. And I've set it equal to none by default. So if the user doesn't specify any specific color palette, the default colors will be used. I also have a third argument here, which I'll explain in a minute. Okay, so let's do the color map equals color map. We have the same variable name for those two. And I like to use the edge color to define the bars more clearly. So I'm going to do edge color is equal to black. And that needs to be a string. So we'll make make sure we get that right. Okay. The labels and the customizations are already added for you here. So title, label, legend, all that is all set. So it's worth taking a look at it to see how that renders when we create the graphic. I also have some extra code that's just going to be used in auto testing to check the function for accuracy. So that's where that third argument comes in. There's really nothing you have to do with that. Just know that it's there and it can be set to true. If set to true, then I'm going to get a sum that shows the shape of the pivot table, so how many rows and columns we have, and then the total sum of the values in the pivot table. Okay, so let's hopefully see this working if I didn't make any mistakes. Okay, so that looks about right. That's what we should see. Okay, so in the exam, you're going to see a problem that's similar to that, asking you to create a bar graph. And just remember, a big goal of this is to, all of these exercises, right, is to try these functions and different customizations, put them together in functions in a way that suits our analytics purpose. And I hope what you take away from that is that this is a pretty powerful way to operate, right? We can use our Python programming skills that we've built with all these other tools that are available in Python. So this is just one example of that. Thanks, everyone.